now you are, I think it's clear now to everybody why we are all here. So let's now move on to the presentation of papers from the 4 distinguished invited speakers. However, we'll have a little change in terms of the sequence of the presenters. So our first speaker for this morning will present the role of Philippine Accreditation Bureau in the national quality infrastructure. He is Mr. Ernani M. Dionisio, who graduated from Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from Mapua Institute of Technology. He has been with the Department of Trade and Industry for 41 years and holds the rank of Career Executive Officer, rank 5. Currently, he serves as the Assistant Director of the Philippine Accreditation Bureau. He represents PAB in regional and international associations of accreditation bodies such as APA, ILA, IAF, IHAF, MQI, and the ASEAN ACCSQ, ensuring compliance with the requirements for PAB's entry into multilateral recognition arrangements. He also assists the Director in planning, developing, and implementing policies and procedures related to various accreditation schemes. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ernani M. Dionisio.
After a very thorough discussion on how the interrelationship between trade, the research, the requirement, and we will now be dealing on introduction of the accreditation side, which is, I think, a little less known, if I may say so. And normally, I would like to request a raise of hands if you are in another. Do you know what conformity assessment or accreditation conformity assessment is? Can I have a raise of hand of what accreditation is before I start? Or can I have a raise of hand? Do you know the office that I represent? Because sometimes it's a little bit, I'm a little bit worried because in the international setting that we are trying to negotiate conformity assessment regulation, streamlining our system with a global scenario. In the Philippine context, the regulators are not so keen in terms of utilizing the accredited institutions that we have in the Philippine context. Good that the OSD has come up with a network of accredited laboratories who will be supporting the exporters in building the confidence as well as the documentation that is required for the export market. To give you a better perspective on how the accreditation is within the Philippine context, allow me to define certain terminologies that would guide us to have a uniform understanding. Because in the Philippines, accreditation is used rather loosely. And oftentimes, regulators use accreditation to denote listing, to denote a roster by which they can rely or support their services with, or sometimes we do it based on a specific requirement of the regulation. And as such, allow me to have a definition of terminologies in terms of the standards, which allows us to give a set of conditions to be fulfilled, normally posed by the importing market countries that we have. And sometimes this quality specification can be a safety requirement or a product specification requirement to denote a specific quality or importance of the product. Then we have the conformity assessment on the other end of the spectrum to demonstrate how the fulfillment of such standard or quality specification has been addressed. Then go to another definition of terminology. We have the conformity assessment bodies. Ang PAB po ay nag-accredit lang ng conformity assessment bodies. And we are looking at conformity assessment activities. As an example, those who do certification, inspection, testing, calibration, validation, verification for the greenhouse gases and for the aerospace industries, as well as other things. Forestries, chain of custody, all of them uses that type of conformity assessment activity. Now, we go to the definition of the accreditation. And normally, accreditation is a third-party attestation related to a conformity assessment body, conveying kung paano niya po ini-exhibit at dinedemonstrate yung competence, impartiality, and consistent operations sa performance ng kanyang conformity assessment activities. Meron din po tayong tinatawag na first party, second party, and third party. So yung accreditation po normally, yun po yung pag-hire natin ng third party that will say that you have been conforming to a specific requirement, a scheme requirement, or a market requirement. Saan po ba nakapaloob ngayon ang PAB? So, dahil nga po wala po tayong batas ng accreditation at binigyan daan lang po ang pag-create ng Philippine Accreditation Bureau by virtue of the Executive Order 802 during the time of Governor. And under the present structure of the department, the PAB is under the Competitiveness and Innovation Group under Joseph Pitaldara. Basic mandate of the PAB is on the conformity assessment activities. If you notice, the EU 802 mention and make reference to Philippine Accreditation Office then. And by virtue of EO 366, the rationalization plan, the renaming of the Philippine Accreditation Office was done. and it was renamed Philippine Accreditation Bureau under the department. Ano po bang ginagawa ng PAB? Kahit hindi ba siya kilala sa PAB sa Pilipinas, kahit hindi po nagagamit ng ating mga regulators at ating pribadong sektor ang servisyo ng PAB. Ito po, baka po kailangan nyo at nagpupunta po kayo ng labas ng bansa. Dahil hindi niyo po alam na meron po tayo sa Pilipinas na nire-recognize ang mediator recognition arrangement with other countries. So, ang PAB po nagbibigay ng management certification services under a specific standard na i-discuss po mamaya ni Director Neil. Dahil lahat po ng accreditation activities namin ay naka-reference po sa isang standard. So, yung normal na gusto natin gamitin at i-brag about yung pagiging ISO certified na hindi naman estipilit ano kayong klase ng ISO standard ang ginamit sa certification. Kaya ito po, binibigay ko po sa inyo as a reference ano yung accreditation services na batay po sa specific standards. Kasi po yung bawat standards na conformity assessment ay meron po pinagtutunan ng bansin. Like po yung unang set natin ng discuss yung management systems certification, and then po yung ISO 9001 which deals with quality management systems po office for an institution. Yung 14,001 naman po deals mainly on environmental management system. Yung DS 22,003 ISO 22,000 family of standards is dealing more on the food safety requirement. At yung 45,001 po occupational health and safety management system. So, hindi lang po dapat certified tayo ng isang system. Dapat po yung tamang system sana. Kung tayo nasa environmental concern, so siguro mas appropriate yung ISO 45,000 as a matter. Unfortunately, for the Philippine context, lahat gusto ay 9,001 yung certification. Sana po magbago yung landscape ng ating requirement. Kasi yung pribadong sektor at yung government agency po na mag-require ng certification, na siya dapat mag-dikta ko ng klase ng certification requirement ang dapat nilang gamitin. Pumunta naman po tayo sa ibang klase sa testing laboratory. Ito po yung direct accreditation namin yung ginagawa. Kasi po, yung resulta nito, yung test report, proficiency, efficiency, and effectiveness. Tsaka po dapat naka-relate po yan later on, mag-tackle natin siguro na Ernani M later on. Dapat nakarelate po sa specific standard national. So, andyan po yung accreditation namin for testing and calibration laboratories, medical testing, inspection body, proficiency testing providers, and normally, nakikita niyo po yung equivalent standards na dapat yung ma-fulfill. Lumabas naman po tayo ng bansa. Kasi ang PAB po is signatory member to various global, regional, and international cooperation in terms of regulation. Ang PAB po, kung titignan tayo yung regional, apart of the science, working group membership namin. May kasama po kami as a signatory member ng Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation na directly linked po sa international organization on accreditation. It can be an international accreditation forum who deals with management systems accreditation. Or kung laboratory naman, we have the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. And specific for halal, signatory member rin po sa International Halal Accreditation Forum, CPAB. In fact, PAB is one of those recognized by the UAE as possible accreditation office that can handle an accreditation that can be recognized by the UAE. And we are also have an MOU with the Gulf Cooperating Council for the GCC. And later on, we're trying to be a member of the next aggregation of accreditation bodies in the Middle Eastern economy. Today, we are a multilateral or multi-recognition arrangement on 8 scope item. Medyo palakihin po natin sa next slide, baka hindi na po mabasa. Given by APAC. Ayan po. So if you notice, various date po yung entry niya. Kasi hindi mo po madali ipasa yung peer evaluation. And the peer evaluation or the Philippine Accreditation Bureau is being handled every 4 years. So, the latest addition to our scheme, wala pa po dyan, yung verification bodies for the greenhouse gases and for the airplane industry. Yun naman po yung support namin kay PAB, being a signatory member to the ICAO for SIA project internationally. So karamihan dyan po ginagamit ng ating mga exporters in terms of providing the necessary confidence or document needed by the important economy. Ano po yung benefit ng MRA? The MRA facilitates acceptance of conformity assessment results. Meaning, yung ginawa po natin dito, kung galing po sa accredited member ng signatory members international, ay pwede po nilang i-recognize po sa kanila. So, yan po yung aming ihay perspective sa ating exporters, sa ating private sector. Huwag na po kayo lumayo, lahin nyo para hindi maging magastos po sa inyo. Kung meron naman tayong local counterpart na kinilala po nila na pwede nilang i-accept ng resulta or evidence of or proof of the compliance to the technical regulation that they are trying to impose. And yung sabi nga na kanina, Mr. Padalina, makikita natin sa notification natin. And sa Philippine setting po, dalawa po yung notification authority natin. We have the BDS for the other products and for pipe to sanitary. The other, we have the DTI. So sa kanila po dumadaan lahat. And I think under the Philippine structure, we have the PILRAS para doon sa mga detection. So more than that, siguro, baka nadidinig ko na rin, ito po yung isang infrastructure na hindi part infrastructure. We have the national quality infrastructure. That is an approach globally in terms of the interdependence of the majority of the pillars of the good quality assessment activities. And if I can share you the unique framework in terms of the interrelationship of the accreditation, the standards, and the metrology, and its linkages to international as well as the local, as well as the requirement applicable to the products and services of our private sector exporters and manufacturers. So, dapat ito lang po dapat i-present ko rin yung topic that was presented to us is on this aspect. So, pagkaklaro na po natin yan, ang PAB po, ang ating international, Philippine representatives international in terms of the accreditation field. We have the BPS as the national standards body and the NFL as the national metrology body and hoping to be the National Metrology Institute the next phase. So if you notice, andyan po lahat yung mga services, andyan lahat yung output ng services that is required by the export market. And sana po, makita niyo yung relationships international or the global on the right side of the coin. For the metrology, we have the BIBM, the ISO, the ILAC, and the ILM, and other international aggregation emerging now on a specific product category. Ito yung isang pagtingin po sa servisyo pino-offer ng mga bureau or offices under the pillars of the Engr. Nasa taas po, yun yung major standards body na may application tayo. Yung global, we have the IML, the BIPL, we have IAF, ILAC, and for the standards, we have the ISO, IEC, the Codex, Arios, and the rest. And the point services of baba, that may be required in terms of supporting the requirement of the export trade regulations. And normally po, sa global arena, nagbabago po nila sa dati po peso value at tarification reduction ang pinag-uusapan. Ngayon, non-tariff measures na po lahat. So our concentration is on good quality assessment activities and how to deal with the evidence of so yun po yung mga challenges ng ating exporters when it comes to entry into an import family because of the regulations and the protections of their local family. To summarize, yung ating mga exporters will be dealing on competitiveness and trade facilitation in terms of the economic transactions that they will be entering. And normally, supported po ng standards, kung anong requirement ng standards, and I will be repeating these slides for better appreciation at the end of my presentation, before the end of my presentation. So So, yan po kung paano natin ika-categorize yung services ng tatlong euro na mag-represent sa inyong services today. Ito po yung mga takeaway. I think it is more self-explanatory statement. Bakit po natin ginagawa ng at kung titignan mo natin yung conformity assessment to hardware, as a final note, meron po tayong accreditation framework na ginagawa sa Filipinas under the Philippine Accreditation. Sana po ma-recognize ang regulators natin yung existence of that framework for better service to their constituents and clients. Kaya yung sinasabi ko kanina, key takeaway ko na gusto kong ibigay sa inyo. Sa transactions or negotiations, you have the quality of the trade. And you have an agreement between what quality represents. Tandaan niyo po yung pagkakasunod-sunod because the next slide will be focusing on what will be answering those questions. A technical specification on how to do quality, normally embedded po yan sa system ng manufacturer, trader, or any producer. An agreement on how to prove quality, normally it is more on the conformity assessment activities, as well as the proof of how credible quality and accepted. So yung issue kanina, yung pag bumaba ang presyo ng OCNAT, dapat natin tingnan sino po ba dapat ang mag-dictate ng level ng aflatoxin. How scientific the approach is and how credible the methodology or the test method that was. And for the rubber industry, din po yung i-spouse namin at dapat matuto sila magpa-test ng rubber para they can assert their rights sa international markets na yun yung level ng quality error in rubber ng isang region. And certainly the last book, yung relationship or yung pagtataya natin sa standard measures or the CMCs agreed and posted in the international. Kaya po kung natandaan niyo po lahat ng role na yan, ito po yung sagot natin sa susunod na slide. Yan po yung tinutuunan. Yung standardization, yung conformity assessment and testing requirement, accreditation, and the methodology. I hope I have given glimpse of what accreditation is. It is related to the expert. Thank you and good morning. Last patch, pakiyan naman yung slide na yun. Baka gusto nyo pong bisitahin yung slide, yung website ng PAB na handle po yung maraming services and information requirement. And I will be leaving some promotional materials. I think I have only limited na andun po sa website na po niyan under the DTI.gov.ph /PAB. So, andun po yung resources. You can go to the resources. You can check the accredited conformity assessment bodies, whether it's an inspection, a laboratory testing, or a certification pattern. So you can confirm. And as a final reminder, huwag po kayo maniniwalang accredited sila. You have to look for the scope that they are accredited into. Ganun din po yung certification. Hindi dahil certified yung organization, certified na po sila sa lahat. The second part of the certification and accreditation is the scope that they are certified or accredited. So yun po yung mai-impart ko po sa inyo, and sorry I have to leave because I have an IQA, an internal quality audit ongoing sa office in preparation for our peer evaluation this coming January 2024. Salamat po marami sa inyo. Yes, I can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dionisio. I hope you can still accommodate one or two questions from the crowd. Yes, please. Kindly state your name and your affiliation, please.
Magandang umaga. I'm Imelda Madaran from Fisher Farms. So far, I think I must say that this is a very, very timely initiative, because this is what we want from the private sector. We're an exporter, particularly the presentation of ACB Padolina, which actually puts all together what is the status of what we need in the country. And we are very happy, and we hope that this can be sustained. I have a lot, my question really is putting all of those beautiful concepts in the practical sense, in the context of an exporter. For example, I think from what we see, we can see that the question really is in terms of the alignment among the agencies within the Philippines. In fact, my first question to you is that, do you also accredit or certify the regulatory bodies that are doing auditing all the different companies in the Philippines, exporting companies in the Philippines? Because there alone, it's going to be long, because I can cite specific differences in standards in terms of, let's say, histamine, in terms of the other laboratory requirements that we need that is not available here, and that's the reason why, for example, in our case, we're spending about 12 million pesos just for laboratory fees at all, and these are sometimes duplicative. The second thing also is that you have mentioned ISO, but in the global market, that's not required at all. What they ask from us are the BRCs, PAPs, ESCs, and a lot of other things that we are not attuned to. So, in other words, but bottom line is that how do we align our own standards with the implementing agencies? And number two, how do we align our standards with the international requirements of the different countries that we target as an exporter? Later on, I can cite specific issues where the differentiation occurs. Thank you.
Salamat po. Sanay na po ako sa nagtanong. Ginigril po niya ako simula ako nung nagsimula sa DTI. And ang manner po niya is, pag nagustuhan tanong, you will be the speaker of the whole day. But if you can go to the website under the resources, and then you have the COPs, the conformity assessment bodies accredited by PAB. Then you go to the COPs. The next. You can have the listing on the accredited, and you can have the scope and the status of the accreditation. So under the certification bodies, and that was SGS, and just UB lahat ng 10 big certification bodies accredited by PAB. Unfortunately, yung sinasabi niyo po ng ibang schemes sa food, you have the MSSC, yung mga specific schemes. Pero under the specific schemes, magamit rin po sila ng ISO 22000 under food safety. Kaya lang, meron po silang additional scheme requirement sa food safety. BRCPS is very known in the European market. It's also in addition to the basic requirement of the systems and food. So, pinresent ko po kanina ng MRA. Pag signatory member po ang economy or the accreditation body ng MRA on that specific scope. Minsan po, si Lucas, pwede naman po niya ipagawa may PAB na sa Pilipinas yun. Kaya, because more or less, yung procedure po ni Lucas tsaka ni PAB are within the context of the ISO 17011, which is the guidance document for all accreditation bodies. So more or less, yung framework na nire-require para sa accreditation body para ma-recognize globally, ay sinusunod lahat ng signatory member. Kaya ho. Pero may contest lang minsan ng yung recognition. Kasi sa industry, normally, at saka yung regulation, minsan po hindi siya nagsisik eye to eye. That is a reality. Kaya po, dinadagdagan po natin yung MRA ng mga MOUs, arrangement, recognition. So, katulad po na ginawa ng MOYA ngayon, the dating UAE, nag-recognize po sila ng pwedeng mag-handle ng accreditation body globally for the halal. Unfortunately, hindi ganun ka dami nag-a-apply. So, yes. Standards body. The Philippine standard. The European standards.
Of the maps, I think, of the different standards. And hello. And my first question, when I attended, I said, number one question, is this mandatory? Number two is that, is it being picked up by our regulatory agencies? Number three, is it aligned with Codex Alimentarius? Number one is because the standards, and I was asking what is the role of the PABs in relation to the Philippine National Standards. And they were saying that the Philippine National Standards Bureau is just a repository. So, number one, there is a disalignment because if you take a look at the laws of the Philippines, Fisheries Code, for example, it mandates BFAR to develop the standards. And these standards, I'm not sure whether it's because we were asking them, is it mandatory? It's not. And I said, what are we doing here if it's not mandatory? So, number two is that, again, regulatory bodies are not pikita. They are, because they're mandated by law, to develop their own standards. Food safety or fisheries code actually has a provision that says that BFAR is mandated to develop the standards. Yes, but again, how does it relate to the Philippine National Standards that we are also doing and I also participate in? Number three, if you're talking about Codex Alimentarius, it's not harmonized all over the world. We are an exporter and we experience the fact that Even within Middle East, for example, Bahrain has a different standard as Saudi Arabia, and Europe has a different standard, and I can cite specifics in terms of the Nutrifacts that they require, the testings that they require, and therefore, we at the private sector are really very confused as to what standards. Because if you even look at histamine, for example, US requires 50 ppm, but I think the others require only 200, and Philippine National Standard says 200, but I think before FDA says 50. And then Australia is something like the minimum of 200. So what do we use? There's so much confusion. So my suggestion really is the first, who makes the national standards? Because when I was asking them, they're saying, pag ano lang yun, ma'am, so we have the national standard. Yeah, but if it is not going to be mandatory, we're wasting our time. So, ano ba talaga? Diba? So, and then, but I think please align among the agencies who develops the standards, who implements the standard. Number two, let's align with the markets, because we, for example, we're audited, we're given classification C by BFAR, but we pass PRC, we pass PAB, we pass all the international accreditation body. I don't understand. So, I think we just really have, I really welcome this, because these are really the real authorities on standards. But I think we have a very good conceptually, but I think implementation. I just arrived last night from Shanghai, where we attended the China International Import-Export Exhibition, and I got to be invited to the summit. And China now is saying that they're moving away from quantity, they're going into quality and craftsmanship. In fact, our company was chosen as one of those that they would like to make a documentary because of the mastery of the craft. Quality is really very important, but I think I thought that we have better minds in the Philippines. We have brilliant minds with working capabilities, but we are not aligning. I think alignment, and that's why I really welcome this session, because hopefully it should be followed through. We have to integrate all the agencies and really think as one. Yun lang, thank you.
Thank you po, pero meron pa po tayong ibang speaker. Andyan kasunod ko po yung metrology and then standards.
Siya ang sasagot.
And hopefully that can give us a better picture of what in store for us.
Kaya kailangan ma-institutionalize.
Okay, I'll focus on my question to our speaker. With so many agencies doing the standard, actually it confused the exporter. It was shown a while ago, the rate of our rejection. Now, I hope our government agencies will be more proactive in letting the exporters know what are the restrictions in every country. What's happening now is we get the guideline, the restriction from our buyer. And in fact, when we ask the regulatory agency if this is happening, sometimes they will say, check pa namin. So our regulatory agencies are not really updated. So our rejections continue to grow. So we are number 6 now in terms of among the 10 ASEAN countries in terms of export ranking. We are number 8 in terms of product development. Next to us is Laos. Malapit na rin tayong Malaos. Okay. Vietnam is now exporting at a volume of 400 billion, and we're still at 70 billion. Now, so I hope that our regulatory agencies will be more proactive in telling the exporters ito yung mga naka-plug sa bawat countries for you to comply. It's not that when you get rejected, you will be notified by the importer or your buyers. Now, we have been very obedient to our importing countries. We're very lax as far as our import. So most of the businessmen would like to be an importer rather to be an exporter. From 2018, we had 8,500 exporters. By 2022, we have only 4,500 exporters left. A decline of 50%. Okay. Now, if the importing countries impose a restriction, can we somehow challenge? No? Because we're very obedient. No? Qatar imposed a ban on seafood. Now they have listed some. But they imposed that only 3 accreditation agencies or inspection agencies should inspect the exporter, and it costs hundreds of thousands. No? And they don't recognize our BIFAR health certificate anymore. Can we challenge that? Thank you.
Sabi ko nga po kanina, I would defer answering because I'm not the authority in terms of your sentiment and your question. But I hear you. Accreditation is just one component for the total systems approach, so to speak. And if you are willing to wait and come up with a session on the NUI on how the ecosystem, the whole ecosystem should respond to the trade requirement. As you very well noted, hindi po parang nagtutugma at nag-align naman. Because primarily, we do have the NQI institution, but we do not have the NQI as a system in its structure. That is kind of unfortunate. And I would like to respond only on in terms of the reference to Vietnam. The reference to Vietnam nowadays, hindi ko po pwedeng gamitin for the Philippine setting because magkaiba po talaga form of government. Sa Vietnam po, yung accreditation are all mandatory. Sa Pilipinas po, all accreditation are voluntary. Sa Vietnam po, dictated by the government. Dito sa ating democratic space, we are practicing this fair. So there are some positive and negative that we can look into. But I think my part for now is to introduce accreditation services and the possible integration of this to your requirement. And hopefully, at certain point, it can mitigate some. If not, we'll be having a continuous dialogue to fulfill the requirement. And hopefully, we can ease certain aspects of the challenges posing the expert market.
Maraming